This Photoshop tutorial is an introduction to layers. Nothing technical here. Layers are just a copy on top or below your original picture. Make sense? Overview to layers. The first thing I'm going to teach you is how to copy and paste a picture on and then briefly edit it using a layer and a layer mask. Now we go to another picture which I have here, and it's a butterfly. Now if we choose the rectangle tool and select around, we can use a command on the keyboard, Control C, that's Control Copy, or Control X for cutting it. So Control X cuts, Control C copies it. Or you can click on Edit and Copy or Cut. We'll do Copy. We'll go to the other picture and you can do Control V, which is to put the picture onto this photograph, or we can do Edit Paste. Edit Paste. Now it's a very small butterfly, isn't it, compared to the V? So if we choose the Move tool, which is with the arrow at the top, providing the layer is highlighted here, we can now move it wherever we want to. Now another little tool I'm going to teach you is a transform tool. So we're going to transform this so it's a lot bigger without losing any quality. So what we do here is Control T. When it provides the layer is selected, it will transform around that layer. So Control T. Okay, now it is selected on my layer. I want the aspect ratio on this butterfly to stay the same. I don't want it to be out of proportion. So the trick to do that is to hold the Alt key down and the Shift key down together. Now when we do that, these little anchors on the side, we can make a butterfly bigger. Now by doing this, now is that big enough? Maybe a little bigger. No. Okay, it's quite a good size. Now I enter, and look, our butterfly is almost perfect. Look, he's very nice. Okay, now to make a mask, what we need to do is look for the shortcut for the mask. So I believe we can click on Layer and then Mask, but the way generally to do it is click on the tool down here and Layer Mask, and now we can add the layer mask. Now you edit the mask with a brush, the brush being black or white. Now if we have this palette here, black and white, black will erase the layer, white will put the layer back again. So choose the brush and check the opacity is up to 100%, and now just click your left mouse and rub your mouse over the image. Again, I've got this set for a very smooth brush, but we don't want any lines at all on here. So we're going to try and make this merge in the picture as best we can. And that'll be now. So we're not going to do a perfect job. We'll just give you a general idea of what these tools do. Now you can play for hours later on, because this is a tool that's very addictive. Once you get used to it, it's very, very good. Now, to make your brush bigger and smaller, you use the left bracket or the right bracket on the keyboard. So the left bracket will make it much smaller. Now, do you remember what keystrokes I made to zoom in? The zoom in was Control plus. So I'm going to go in very close to my butterfly so I can edit this much more successful. Now I want to move the picture. Again, remember the command, hold the space bar down, you get a hand. Left click and move the picture up. Okay, so now we're here. Now, we still want to make the brush a little bit smaller, so left bracket will make it smaller. Now don't be too despondent with what you're doing here, because the human eye doesn't see everything that you can see this close up. Now use your history palette, because sometimes it makes sense to do so. So we've got to blend the two pictures in very carefully. I think I'm going to make the brush bigger. Now if I change it to whites, I can now block out some. Again, some of these pictures only you will notice whether you have edited it or not. Other people are not going to notice what you're going to notice. And around the edge this side. Again, there is much better ways to do the side of a subject, but this is demonstrating how you can use the layer mask. Now, let's make it larger. Now, is he believable or is he not? Now, I can tell because I did it, but would the general person tell? Who knows? Okay, now, if I save this, I will save this as we'll save it as layer mask. Okay, if we close this image like so, and we reopen the image, so we go to File, Open Recent, Layer Mask, PSD, we have still got our masks here. If I had used the layer on here and just the erase tool around the edge, or a selection tool, and deleted everything around the edge, you wouldn't have the layer, unless you wouldn't be able to edit it. Okay, so that's enough on copying and pasting. Now we can still keep going with building layers up and up and up, and away we go. So let's now do a adjustment layer. Adjustment layers we can do in these shortcuts here, or we can go into layers and choose adjustment layers, or any type of layers we've got here, duplicate layer. Also down here we have different types of layers here. Again, put your mouse over it. New fill or adjustment layer, create a new group, new layer. We'll use these shortcuts because they're fairly easy to do. The first one will be brightness. Click on the brightness. Immediately here in the layers palette you've got another layer. So now we can now adjust the brightness and contrast on this picture. Okay, now just click this back and go to the next one, which is levels. Click on levels, and look, we've got a levels layer here. Now we can adjust levels, the same as Bert showed you the other week. You can slide this side down, it darkens it. Slide this side, it lightens it. And in the middle, it varies the dark point on the picture to where you want it as the best one. And the rule of thumb is, this histogram, your black should be level. If you've got a high point here, it should be level there. The same with the white, should be just where it starts to up there. If you have a long space with nothing, that's not good. So you have to move this slider's index roughly about right. But you can see whether it's good or whether it isn't. Again, you can actually make a mask within this, the same as we just done, by clicking on this here, and again using the brush to go, and we will make this darker look. That's his got to turn to black, and that will shine through that layer. Not a very good way of showing you there, because it's I haven't made it very dark. So if we go back to here, make it dark. Now I click on layer, and we've got black selected there. I've got the brush selected, and now we just rub this. And can you see we're rubbing this bright layer or dark layer, and we get the bright layer underneath. So you can see how you can make things dark and light wherever you want. Now we can go back on the history to here and leave it alone so it's not touched. Back to a reasonable value. like that. So let's turn that layer in and see what else there is. There's curves, which are very similar to our last one. You can move the tonal curve of the photograph depending on what part you want to make that light. Bring that down to that size dark. You can do all sorts of things to the picture, but you've really got to play with this to get it to work. Now notice you've got curves down here, so I've screwed that up really. I've not really done a very good job, so no problem. I didn't really want curves on here, so just get rid of the eye and it's gone. Or if you want to get rid of it completely, just right click on the layer and delete. And away it's gone. Now if you hold your mouse over it, it tells you exactly what you want to do. So exposure. Okay. Exposure. Let's move the exposure up. As expected, too bright or too low. We won't go into the offset or any of those at the moment. It's, this is just to give you a good overview of what we can do. Next one along is vibrance. Vibrance. Now, the vibrance is quite clever. If you have a very heavily saturated picture, for instance, the oranges, the yellows are all very bright, the vibrance doesn't generally increase those any. It will increase the less prominent colours in the picture. So, whereas the saturation control will boost everything regardless. So that's a very handy thing to know about. So I think we've probably covered pretty much what we need to cover on a colour balance. Again, it's another layer look, and you can make a mask on every single layer. So if part of the picture you wanted, say you wanted this, with this leaf you wanted this colour on it. Okay, so all we do, click on the mask and we make sure it's all gone. We now take out everything else, go back to normal. Let's make a nice big brush. Much easier ways of doing this, but this is just to show you what we can do here. So, yeah. Here we've got some really strangely coloured plants on there. So using the mask, that's all we've done. We can enable the mask again or disable the mask. So right click, disable their mask, back to normal. And across over there, right click, enable mask. And there we go. Thank you so much for watching.